I'm sorry about the slight delay from starting this live. I had delivery for my washer and dryer I bought during the Black Friday stuff when it was going on because it was just a much better deal. I haven't that was one of the appliances I haven't upgraded since I moved in here, a few years ago. So it got delayed from last week and it was snowing hard outside. So it got done when it was supposed to get done. It got installed. It's good. It seems to be working fine. So um I'm happy about that. But anyhow, getting into the charts, a big thing we can look at. We had that little pull down, and I told everybody to pay attention to XDC because if it came out of the pattern consolidation, there could be an opportunity to buy before the event with the Fed. And unlike most of the other ones, I mean, not saying that this is 100% guaranteed to pull back up now, but 4 hourly became oversold, dailies massively oversold, weeklies massively oversold, and the monthly has come down almost into oversold now. Not saying that we can't dump right off here, but that's the kind of dump down I wanted to see out of XDC. Now, obviously, we have to make sure we hold this resistance. This pattern is still in a descending fashion, but this looks like a nice reversal, possibly starting with an inverse pattern setting up. And the way that it dumped down, I mean, we're massively oversold in a way that we would want to be. And this looks like it could be the start of something possibly for XDC. It was up here when I was being asked yesterday, should you buy? And I said, wait to see how this pattern goes. And if we get a dump down, and I didn't know if it'd come to 4-4 or not, but we talked about if it didn't invalidate the prior part of this pattern, it couldn't technically, it could, but we're trying to validate a continuation here. So we don't want to make a new low. I mean, we could, but if we start making a higher low here and then push out, this could be the start of a traction up. And with what's happening with the Fed tomorrow, for XDC especially, unlike a lot of others, this has just been dumping down for some time now, which is good. So if it can get an impulse moment where there's actually some kind of fundamental credibility here, where we can have some, movement, this is all lining up perfectly for me. Like the way that dumped down, it was an opportunity. And I think that's what we were waiting for. Something like that. We sold out at 5 point when we had this little 6% run up. When was this? Up here, I believe it was. We had a 6% run up in the day when everything else in the market was going down. And we decided to take that opportunity and wait for the pull down. We didn't know. We were thinking 4.6-ish, 4.5. Like when we first said it, we were like, oh, if it comes all the way down here now, it could be like 4.67 maybe. However, if it holds this pattern, then we were looking at the floor rate here at about 4.8, unless we had an overextended wick, which we did, that can pull back up in the daily to make it a very significant event in the favor of the bulls. Because this very well, if this pulls up any higher, we would have to start looking at this. And this is a great sign right now. If we're looking for positivity to start the day, some people are going to read into it because I have a beanie on or a hat. And, you guys can make your own conclusions of if I'm more bullish or bearish when I start the lives, whether or not there's a hat on. That's your own conspiracy. But I did say if it was dumping into the 2-day meeting, this was a good sign. And we dumped into the 2-day meeting, did we not? So this is a very, 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 very ominous moment that we're in right now. And I don't remember what I was going to look up. So if somebody can let me know what my point was here. A hammer candle. Duh. I wanted to show you a hammer candle before I start to announce why it's a hammer candle possibly forming. But anyhow, good morning. 10:41 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, December 9th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire, and I reside in the great state of Michigan. And we have a lot of work to do still to make this a hammer candle. But see how we have the extreme wick pull down? We got to pull back into a bullish setting here still. So we got to still pull back into the bullish setting. Okay, let's do this. I got an idea. So, whoops. We've still got to pull into a bullish fashion here. Whoops. Son of a bitch. Here, I want to do it the easy way. Let me just bring out a drawing tool. So, we want this. See this body? or I mean the actual wick, and how the body right here pulled up into the top, this green section right in about here. What we want now to happen is in this candle, if we're going on XDC, see how this pulled down in the, whoops, forgot I'm not, this is my actual tool. I got to pull the drawing tool out now because I'm actually back here. See how this wick is pulling up? We would like this body to pull up about, in my opinion, we want to see it pull up into here. So we just want this to be somewhere up in here in this top half. If it does, we can push this into a bullish hammer candle. So that's just you know, what I'm seeing here. All of these metrics are filling up how I want. I don't remember what the order filled at. I can look back because I had it set up and I was getting this stuff installed. So I never even looked to see what it filled at. But I can tell you that, you know, the position tends to increase a little bit every time I buy back because the price keeps dropping down. And I just use the same funds over and over and over for each particular token I have. And I'll go over it step by step. So you're not going to know it in the moment. But by the end of this, you're going to understand what I'm seeing, what I'm feeling, the reasoning why I did what I did. And I know the last time I sold out, it was at like 5.6, 5.5. So it was a bit of a difference on this buyback. So, you know, it was felt in the portfolio just a little bit. Because when I sold out, I had 300,000. And I know I might have been able to buy a little bit more than even what I did based on, you know, my philosophy of what I was doing. But, you know, that's either here nor there. I know the fee was like it cost me in USDT, and this order was for 322,200 XDC. It filled at, and I didn't get it at the 471. See how it came all the way down here to 472? Mine filled all the way up here. Where's it at? 4768. So it had already had, by the time that I recognized it and did what I needed to do, 4768. That's nowhere near the 470. You're talking, it had already pulled back. People will laugh when I say this, but it did. It pulled back over 1%. That's the well, there was some under, but I think it was 4768 when I'm looking at it. So that's a pullback up already. And I say this for a reason. That's a pullback of like 1.4% on that wick. So I didn't even get it at the best spot. But what I'm saying is, if you're a fan of, and there's a link in the video description below and or pinned comments of this video, if you're a fan of XDC, when I did this, and you're talking high times of volatility, even right now it's still high times of volatility because the wick is pulling up after that drop. It only cost me $34.66. And to put it in perspective, that's over $15,000 on that position. So that fee, very manageable. And it's the same on the sale as well. There's a few others I need to talk about in this live. And somebody brought it up with SHX. Yes, that's another one. But it's not quite in the same positioning as it XDC. But no doubt, it could be starting something different. The technical drop could still be to 8-1, but that's another one that if you're all a fan of, that's another one to pay attention to in this whole thing. We're starting to get some nice reversals now. Bands is up 3.2%, but this shouldn't be a surprise as we're going to head into the right decision. There's opportunities around the board. I waited for Algo to do what it did, and I was very happy with the positioning that it allowed because it never gave way, never made it a new low, and now it's working on an expansion phase. So I like how it's reversing. I like how it's done what it's done. There's a lot of things that I liked overnight. You know, things happened. We had some nice ability. I like what started to transpire with certain, like I said, though, this is the one thing I want everybody to understand with what I do. I am not trying to get in everything anymore. I've made myself very clear. I'm not trying to, and that's a fact. I'm not trying to get in, and I used to have a much bigger eye for what I wanted. Now I have a very designed, very targeted, and very unique plan because I want less assets now. I want to do it from a certain position. I was looking up something because I know my algo position was the other one that's going to be a big buy position when I did buy it back. And that on 100,000 tokens only charged me $27.98. Sorry, I'm trying to get the data for you in real time. Um, but I'm not saying that it's not going to break down. I'm not saying that it can't break down. What I am saying though is the positioning we put ourselves in now is unique because I mean I wanted to see this go down like heading into the 2-day meeting. We very well could dump down again. So beyond that, I haven't done really anything at all. You know, it's certain things that I'm looking at. I'm not even convinced that we're not going to break down still. It's just we're getting into a moment now with this 2-day meeting and knowing we're getting a rate cut. We should have, like I said before, for anybody who's not new and you've been here, we've talked about the 2-week window from the 10th, maybe the 9th, because going into the 2-day meeting, you have to start with the FOMC meeting. There could be a 2-day window or a 2-week window here where from the 10th to Christmas, where we could have a short squeeze of the top side, and I'm convinced of it. And I think XRP's proving it to us in one way. You know, if we're looking at XRP for guidance, shoulder, head, shoulder, it never gave way yet. We still have a lot of work to do to prove we're bullish, but our positioning right now is suggesting we're more bullish than bearish, and the bulls are starting to take command here. And the reason I say that is we came all the way back through in the micro perspective, broke through here, held support after a wick down, back tested, broke out, back tested. This was everything yesterday. And now we can look at it from a more defined fashion and be like, okay, well, XRP now, remember the short term we talked about? That was the 7-day, and now it's up to the 9-day pattern. We are technically breaking out of the 9-day pattern now, just like we're supposed to. You overextended it, bounced off support. Now what we would do is we would come up to the guidance zone, and I know people are like, what the hell's the... These are just things I make up, but it's the guidance zone, in my opinion. You get past $2.22, you're well on your way, because that's the overextension where we got rejected in this pattern to prove bearish, and then we held the uptrend to confirm this pattern wasn't breaking down. In fact, we were gaining more steam. So now we can look at this in a much different light than we did yesterday or the day before. So I'm just happy that we dumped yesterday. I kept talking about it. Please don't go up in that moment. Come back down, back test these moves, which how could we not be happy? Even today at around 2 a.m., 1 a.m., we back tested this move and we had this drop out in the Asian markets. That was so bullish that the Asian markets were allowing this to consolidate down. I'm serious. This is not bearish what it did leading into the meeting. If anything, this could incite some buying momentum. I'm actually pretty excited about what could happen here, if I'm being honest. XYO, if you're a fan of it, it did what it normally does, and this is what you want for further movement. It needs to give back that initial move because it puts itself in a crazy position. The daily is still concerning to me. The weekly, not so much because we're pushing back, but it's got itself in a weird positioning. So just be careful with that. Be careful with everything. Use discernment today. I put it in the title for a reason. We've got to use discernment with the pattern right now. It is in an ominous spot here, though, where if this doesn't reject because it came down and it did the reversal, this is how you keep yourself. Let me get rid of this for 1 sec. Now, if it gets rejected here, obviously, it's going to come down into that range. But this is where we've got our chance now to flip this market from bearish to bullish. We got to, for SHX, ultimately get on top of this area in yellow at 108, and then we're good. It's done a pretty much complete retest of the breakdown, which I like. We came all the way up here. We came down. If you conclude with what happened today, we came down to 0094. And now what I see, and until, just like with XRP, until that, what I think is a bullish megaphone breaks down, I'm approaching it as a bullish pattern with opportunity to find the right areas, you know, to buy in. If you missed out here, whoops, you know, honestly, this is all lining up perfectly. If you missed out here and you waited it out, or if you bought here, sold here to see if we could make a left or an inverted right shoulder, guys, look, inverse left shoulder, head, strategic inverse right shoulder. We very well could be on our way back up here. So Yeah, make sure to hit that like button. 116 of you are watching. Only 68 likes. I don't ask for much, but it'd be nice to have more than 55% of the audience or so hitting the like button. Imagine if I was only accurate 55% of the time. Whew. Me too. I did the exact same thing with that X. Exact same thing as what I was talking about. I know somebody else in the audience, and I talked about it very deeply about waiting to buy back the inverted right shoulders. So I'm trying to go through this one by one, and I'm trying to explain myself. I just want to know, because remember, SHX in the past weekly, the thing we have to remember is if you just look at, not the weekly, the monthly, I'm sorry, not the weekly. I'm sorry, I'm talking about so many different things at once that sometimes my mind, I'm looking at my phone on data as well. Because I'm looking at XLM on my phone to see what it looks like in comparison to, because I have I'll just go through it. My mind works so fast that sometimes I even get bored when I'm talking because I'm thinking of something else. Not a bad thing. I'm saying my mind works so fast that I'm talking, but I'm thinking about something else as well. So the monthly for SHX, remember, and we're only in December, it came all the way up to 1.4. So if you wrote it from 0072 or 78 or 76, we're at 0076 to 0014. And then you were able to buy it back at 009, whatever. You're cooking. Or even right now, you're cooking. That monthly's oversold. Hold on, I got an answer from my mama. Hello?
Hi, baby.
Hi, Mom. Sorry, I'm just doing my live.
Are you done now?
No, I'm in the middle of it.
Oh, okay.
No, you're fine. T's good. He's at school. He slept last night until like 11, woke up, went back to sleep at 3 until 7, and he went to school good. He was happy.
Oh, good.
And then my washer and dryer got installed.
I see that.
Yeah, so I'm glad it happened while he was in school.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So, is it supposed to snow all day?
yeah, it can. We can get a few inches today, it said.
Yeah, it looks like we already got about 3 outside.
Here, it's getting out close to a couple now, but with everything that's already on the ground, it's definitely adding up, man.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, I made it, so I'm here.
Yeah, I figured you were at work. That's why I was calling.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good.
All right, my baby. Does Johnny still play with his toys?
Oh, yeah. He loves them.
He likes his toys.
He loves them.
Good. I know he likes that one.
No, he likes all of them, actually.
Yeah, it gives him things to do, like how to turn things and pull things and pop things.
Yep.
So, but okay, my love.
Okay, man.
I gotta do something. I gotta do my time.
Yeah, go back to work. You're good.
All right, baby.
I'll call you when T gets out of school.
Yeah, let me know when my little boy does.
I will.
I don't think they're gonna let him out early.
No. Nope, he'll be there all day. They're not going to let him out early.
Yeah. I mean, all the schools, I don't think they're gonna shut the schools down.
No, I think he'll be fine. I think they're going to keep him in school today.
He was happy though, right?
Very happy.
Oh, good.
Very, very happy. He loves school.
All right, my baby. I know he does. I know he does.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna get some work done.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, baby.
Yep.
You go back to your life.
I will.
Okay, honey.
All right, love you, ma'am.
Love you.
All right, bye. All right, sorry about that, everybody. But I'll never turn down I'll never turn down a call from my parents when I'm doing the live. I've said this a million times. Cause you never know, and I know a lot of people from the audience who have lost their parents. They always encourage it. Cause you just never know. And it's a sad thing to think about, but you just never know. So yeah, I mean, I'm not against, certain things, and I'm going through it in step-by-step fashion. Sorry, I just wanted to hang up with my mom. She had sent me a text before, and I wanted to just make sure everything was handled, and I think it is. Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good. Okay. I'm actually feeling pretty good about this because of these drops and the positioning that it allowed. It allowed to do some expansive things, and I don't know if it's going to work out. I never know if it's going to work out or not. But all I can do is be set for the next move. Um, so we went through SHX, we went through XDC, and the reasoning why. We got to go through algo still, but I'm trying to do this on the same pages. So the next one would be band. And yeah, band's not as big of a holding, obviously, because the price came down so much, but we've been on this for quite some time, and it's the same reasoning here. It becomes the same reasoning. It came right into the pattern consolidation. It's massively like, look at the monthly. If you're looking for reasoning when you're trying to position yourself, let's just say within a asset, you're looking, I always talk about the monthly or the weekly and then leading into the monthly. Look how oversold. Eventually, unless an asset goes to die, and I don't think it's the case because band, despite the critics or the ones that hate band in my audience, it's the main data oracle for everything the ledger and Ripple does. So I choose to at least keep that closer than not. So, and yeah, right now 10,000 tokens are about $3,800, $3,900, even if you just bought it at this exact moment, which obviously, again, discernment. I'm not a financial advisor, and this is for entertainment purposes only, but all I can do is go through my portfolio and share what I think and what I like and what I appreciate. So, I mean, if you're doing and counting the math, that means I own SHX, I own Band, I own Algo, I own XDC, XRP and XP Healthcare, Epic. But that's just, there's things that I want for the moments of truth. And this, I believe, is a moment of truth right now. Do we think it's a moment of truth right now, or am I overemphasizing this? Oh, for Band, though, before we get going, I want to talk about why Band at the moment that. So, a few weeks ago, when we sold, not even a few weeks ago, but when it had made this resistance and it proved to us that we had to go buy support, sell, resistance. So, I always talk about you don't have to buy exactly when it hits the point, but you're trying to measure. You're trying to see if it makes sense. And right now, I need to see. See, this doesn't even make sense because it's not measured properly. Otherwise, it would have tapped it. Because when I look at it on my phone, it changes the lining. So look at how it's set up. This is why it made sense. Because on my phone, it was showing we're at a rejection point right now when I was just looking. That's why I wanted to show. I'm looking at it and like, we're not above it. We're below it. So right now is that moment of truth. That's why I said I like to be in the moments of truth. We're above this setup, but we're trying to make sure that we stay above here, and then we'll be pushing back up. If it holds 38.6-ish, then your next move would be back up to 44. So I like the overzealous. I always talk about the overzealous pull down as an opportunity because as long as the daily candle doesn't stay supported down, and then you can pull up on that next one at minimum, it's usually a fake out. And because it's in between two separate areas, I don't know. To me, it has to break this down over here to prove to me that this isn't building some kind of unique back test on a weird inverse pattern that is trying to get a little more pressure. I don't know, though. 4-hourly got massively overbought. Well, not massively, but it's positioned. Daily's still pushing down. So we need to make sure it's not a rejection. The weekly is very favorable, pushing up. And the monthly, I don't remember the last time it was like this. It was when it was in a dead zone back here, and that was back in 2021, 22-ish. And it stayed within this for a while. And then it had the artificial push up where it came up to 272. But look at that push. It went from $1 in this area when it was doing all of this. It went from $1.01 even to get faked out eventually at the end at the $2.86. That's fine. But yeah, just notice there can be extended periods before it does make the reversal back up. So, this is just my best understanding of what I'm seeing and my rationale I'm using. It might be completely bad rationale. I understand. I understand it more than anybody. Believe me that it could be bad rationale. But to be honest, I think XDC might even be warranted to put even more into XDC. I have a lot of faith in what XDC is about to do here, and I think it's a better deal than a lot of what we're seeing on the board. I think I'm going to put more into XDC instead of switching or trying to find something else that I might want. I think XDC There's something about my gut that keeps telling me, Tom, XDC, XDC, and it's XDC, damn it. Don't forget XDC. And I keep feeling it. You know, I feel that. Now, with XYO, it's a unique opportunity if it's meant to go because that monthly is significantly oversold. The weekly's finally breaking back up. It's the daily that could cause for concern, but with these style tokens, a lot of times that daily is going up and down, left and right so quickly you can't even keep up. I feel like I'm missing something. What am I missing? Something's missing. Like something in this conversation's missing. I'm missing something. What the hell am I missing? I feel like we should be talking about something I'm forgetting. So yeah, just because my gut's telling me to do this, I can't believe I'm going to do this right now after, well, it's only gone up 1.5%, but still, that's higher, another 1.5% from or 2% from where I actually was buying it too. But my gut's telling me take advantage of XDC when it's like this. You don't need to have a huge shit, even though I have some shit. This would be a interesting move indeed. I did it too. Mm, mm, mm. I did it. I don't know if it's going to backfire or not, but I did it. 48799. Now I have the most XDC I've ever held, and it basically is a huge allotment of the funds I have to spend for, you know. Oh yeah, it's a pretty big allotment that I've made. Not flexing or anything like that. It's just I do have a lot of conviction when it comes to I have a lot of conviction when it comes to XDC. I just feel like it's set up in a way. Remember where XRP was at 30 cents and 40 cents? I feel like that's what XDC is setting up. You know, so I feel like we have a unique opportunity here because it's taken so long. Like it's taken a long time for XDC to do what it needed to do. And I think if I think there's a big opportunity. I'm not a financial advisor, so I could be a complete asshole and not know what the hell I'm talking about. So, you know, this is what I see. This is my interpretation. And like I said, I could be completely wrong in my assessment of XDC. But I wasn't wrong in my assessment of XRP. I wasn't wrong in my assessment in the crypto market. So I trust my assessment of what I'm seeing. It's the leader of the R3 Corda. I could argue that it's got more of an in when it comes to worldwide institutions, and it has more of it. I could just argue a lot of cases, but I don't want to argue it right now. And it's the R3 Corda SBI in Japan. You're 100%. So this is the most I've ever held of it, and I don't know how I feel about it. But I decided I wanted to almost do a 1-to-1 ratio with XRP value wise. It's not quite there, but I have 400,000 tokens now of XDC, and that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. So I bought another 78,000 just now because I had 322,000. And then I'm still buying it on Winning Wednesdays. I think I don't know if price wise it's going to be bigger. No, XDC is way better than Ethereum, but I also think XDC is a hidden gem. I know a lot of the focus goes on XRP, but I always talk about it being the deceiver coin in the ultimate run because every single person on social media talks about it for a reason. So this is how I assess the market. And now people are going to read into it again. He didn't wear a hat the last couple days and it dumped during the live, and he wears his hat today and it pumps during the live. You You guys can read into that how you want, but who thinks that I do this in a conspiratory fashion? Do you guys really believe that? Or do you think it's just a coincidence? I wish I could buy XPR. If it was on Kraken or on my tier 1 exchange right here, I would buy it. It's not that we're sleeping on Ethereum, because obviously Ethereum is going to push us in. I just don't like Ethereum, so I'm not buying it. I'd much rather hold XDC and some other things than Ethereum. No offense, anybody who likes Ethereum, but I could still tell you Ethereum in the daily is kind of in a weird spot, and the monthly, like it's nowhere near in good positioning like some of these other ones, even though it might outshine them initially. It's been a long time since you could tell me that like the weekly and the daily and stuff lined up this good in the 4-hourly for a buy opportunity with XDC. At some point, that's a huge inverse head and shoulders here. And honestly, I don't even know if you can do it from here. You could say the inverse left shoulder is right here and it just overextended. It never broke the head. And if you want to take this to a more expansionary look, what if we said this? What if this entire descending consolidation was the inverse head and shoulders that's getting ready to take us to a nice little move here? I know Define's going to be happy about this when he starts to see exactly how much faith I'm putting in XDC. And I have a lot of faith in Algo, but I've put all the faith I have in the amount of tokens I hold now on this rebuy. So, and I'm not afraid of a drop. I just wanted to buy the drop heading into the FOMC, and it just gave us it overnight and into today. It even gave us some today. XDC, I wasn't going to buy back until it did that drop a few hours ago. I'm like, oh, fuck. I got no choice. You got no choice. We talked about this exact move yesterday, and I don't know if it's going to come to 4-4, but if we get a reversal, a fake out in the daily, remember the daily down, pull back up, then we can turn it into a hammer. That's why we talked about the bullish hammer at the start. Now look at this. Look how high this could end up being, a nice hammer candle here. Imagine this reverses up even higher and we end up going into a bullish territory, but this has been a spectacular reversal. Spectacular. And we talked about the opportunity yesterday before that drop, and it diagnosed the drop for us. Remember against XRP? It diagnosed the immediate drop in value versus XRP. And we said it could even come down here on the pairing, but it would be more likely to just have a correction and retest where this could be a reversal. But this showed us that XRP was going to start before XDC again. And I love XDC in the fact that it usually takes a candle to catch up. XDC will be the trade/paperless token. 100%, Steve. Silver at $60. Are you shitting me? Holy shit, guys. Oh my God. Our silver stocks are going crazy. I knew it. I knew we were in a good moment. I was telling everybody on that dip, especially before the last 3 weeks, that was a huge dip, and I explained myself and positioning and why. Oh my God. I didn't know this was happening. Pan America Silver up 10.17%, hitting a new, I believe, all-time high here. Oh yeah, all-time high here again. And that's a nice flag breaking out. We're going to cut 50 basis points. If this is any indicator, they're front running a 50 basis point rate cut in the gold and silver. Holy shit. This is bad. It's going to be worse than we thought. Good for what we hold, bad for our economy around us. Whoa. I wasn't prepared for that, actually. I was so focused on crypto, I really wasn't paying attention to the miners this morning. Gold's at 4,218, up 0.68%. Gold-silver ratio under 70. Remember, we're buying at 90, 100, all the way up to 105 this year. You could have bought it. Past years up to 110. Maybe a little higher. Barrett Gold, now gold.com, but I still call it Barrett. Up 2.27%, back over $31. B2 Gold up 3% to $4.62. Silver making a new all-time high, up 3.95%, better than $2. And that's a huge move in one day, to $60.44. Oh, if you're new, we do a lot more here than just crypto. We understand that crypto metals, mining stocks are not the enemy. They're the friends of each other. You make unprecedented gains in crypto and you store your value in gold and silver, and then you find the right mining stocks because you have to get the stuff out of the ground. If you're new, I always have to point back to this so I don't have to prove what I do. 11 months ago, I told my audience why I sold 75% of my crypto and got murdered. Then I had to come back a week later and I tried to warn everybody again that this is just the start. And I talked about how Bitcoin targeted 75, nailed it. And that's when it was well over 100. And I said XRP cut in half, nailed it. Went down 65%. More than what I said. Well, I talked about the deeper. But anyhow, that's why we turned our focus. And we didn't buy gold and, like, I didn't buy gold and silver. I haven't bought any physical gold or silver since silver was at 26 and gold was just about to break 2,000. I focused on mining stocks this year in January. Now our next main focus, and the only reason I say this is because we're at it again. Our next main focus is going to be black gold, which is oil. And we said, don't jump the gun. Oil just traditionally will have it dumped down. And I know it tried to fake us out here. And we said, we're not buying into it. I know it tried to fake us out here again. It keeps trying to do it, but I keep saying, stay the course. Stay the course, because traditionally it'll have a big dump down right before the time. And that's when we're going to capitalize. And NOG, we're going to have Murphy's. There's a few of them that we'll have on here. But I look at Northern Oil and Gas because of the way the trade's going to go in the U.S. This one could get heightened ability, and I'm hoping it doesn't break out, but it may, just because of all the bullshit. I'm hoping this is a right shoulder that ends up eventually panning out to be something like this, and I can start to chart it and be like, you know what? It had more upside potential, and this is what it was starting to play out to. This is what I'm hoping it does. It gives us the ability, and then it says there's just not enough energy here, and it breaks down. So that's just something we're watching, FYI. So anyhow, continuing on. Silver up 3.81%. Now that it broke past 55, it broke the cup and handle move up to 55. That was the handle push up from 39 after it broke the handle, after it got over 40. That's the technical target, was 55. Now the technical target of the cup, the only thing left to finish now, is all the way up to $93. And that's just the beginning. What happens when that finishes and then it starts to move into parabolicness? This is just going to be insane. I don't even... sometimes I look and I go, oh my God. Hekla's up 8.8% to $17.25. And if you're new, we were buying Hekla $4.20. We were buying Pan America Silver $16, $18, $22. Remember, even 24, I said it's a steal. B2 Gold we were buying from $2.30 all the way up through $3.30. Barrett we were buying at $14, $15, $17. We even put another order at $22 and it dropped down for no reason. You know, gold and silver bullion, and this was all profits from crypto from past cycles we put into here. We put into gold at 1,600, 1,700, 1,800, 1,900, and all the way up to 2,000. Mostly focused on silver, though, at the end, when it dropped back down to 17, all the way up through 26, because we knew it was a steal. The ratio was out of control. Fortuna Silver Mines is going to have a big move here soon. I mean, a big one. It's trying to break all-time highs. And when it makes it through here and actually pushes back over 1036, we're probably going to go to 12 to 14 right away. So be ready. The volume is at all-time high levels. It's never seen this kind of volume. Like, remember crypto? Mining stocks, you see the difference, why it can continue? We've never seen volume like this in mining stocks. It's just getting started, folks. Mid to late 26 should be the parabolic spike we're looking for. What do you mean parabolic spike, Tom? We're already up a gazillion. Well, that's the beauty of being early. Look at the volume. Volume predicts price. They have never seen this kind of volume. Do you see what I'm saying in the monthlies? Look at silver's volume. Holy hell. I mean, come on now. That's countries buying, baby. Retail's not buying any of this. Gold. Gold is at an all-time high in volume as well. You know, real gold, aside from this one big sell-off back in 2000 or 97, it completely threw distortion. But now look at the difference. If you just look at it from a mano to mano, it's exploded. The gold-silver ratio. coming back to major all-time high sales. Why? Because the deal was there, guys. We've talked about this for years. Years. And now it goes from here. We level it off a little bit. 46 to 1 ratio is what this is designed to come down to out of a rising wedge. It's beautiful. This is all ends are meeting to the collapse of this economy. But we're predictable. We know the predictability. Oh, it's fantastic. Let's finish down the road. Silver Court mining up 5.18% to $8.22. Now, are these steamrolling us? Are these blow off? Who the hell knows what's going on anymore? All I know is all-time high volume dictates price movement. And this volume doesn't seem to be slowing down at all. So we'll see. And that was just a correction month. And then it still moved up. Dolly Varden up 5.23% to $4.62. Legitimately breaking out. We sold the top of the monthly here, somewhere up over $5. We bought it back down here, and I put a buy alert at 352 and said, hey, it's done everything that I need it to. Now it's back tested in the monthly. This could go unbelievable here if it finally starts to do it. And you can see over the last few months, we've got some historically high volume. This monthly just started in December, and we're already at 6.67 million. We're only 9 days into the month. If you do this cumulatively, you know, we're going to be up towards 20 to 25 or more million in volume if this stays on track. Now, the end of the month, obviously, we've got some closures for holidays and Christmas and New Year's and blah, blah, blah. This is a good spot here, baby. Not to buy, but to just sit back and go, let's just see what happens here because something's falling. Mrs. thought it's too late to get back in them. Well, that's all personal preference. But, you know, obviously, the way it's moving up, it's kind of hard to buy it when it's on a big rally. It's something. I can't really tell you the answer to that. But you don't really want to hit the steam train head on. Yeah, but the new financial system's different with a lot of people. Peter Schiff, by what he did, is already showing you that there's a crack in the philosophy that it's all going to go through digital currency. That's what scares me, that it's worse than we thought. We're going to need to hold more than just one or the other. We literally need to hold precious metals and crypto. We need to hold them on for dear life and find them in the right spots. Yep, they never miss an opportunity to have Texas play Michigan in a meaningless bowl game. It's unfortunate for both our fan bases that we always underachieve with the talent we have, unfortunately. Even Texas underachieved last year. They should have won the title. They have no excuse to losing the way they did. Just like Michigan, we have bad coaching. I think if Sarkisian had our team, we would have actually made the playoff. It's kind of ironic. Let's see. Wish I would have bought more silver. Tough. Yeah, no, I know. That's why I chose the miners. But listen, this isn't the end of the trade. There's other trades that are going to open. Pay attention, everybody. There's other trades that are going to open up. There's other. Oh, yeah, I forgot about Linnea. I didn't even talk about it. My bad. But there's other tokens that are going to open up. Or other plays that'll open up. And yeah, Linnea's pulled an inverse head and shoulders here in the 4 hourly, so it didn't come back down to 0064, but we sold it at 009 something. And then you look at it, and it came all the way down to 0076. It had a healthy pullback. It still hasn't moved much. Like, this is nothing so far. But from that pull down, it's still down 15%. It went as much as 21, but it is putting in an inverse pattern. Now, that 4 hourly is a little out of control. But if this is going to break out in a small inverse pattern, it's actually positioned beautifully in the daily and the weekly. So, actually not the weekly because there's not enough data. It would be nice if there was enough data, but there's not yet. Daily's showing a normal reversal. The volume dried up as well in the last part of this correction. So you have crashing volume, crashing price, which is a recipe for a bullish reversal. Now we're looking for a spike candle. And it could come at any moment if we're going to get a spike, you know. So... But yeah, Linnea, definitely in play. 4 hourlies engulfing. If that is in fact an inverse left shoulder, head, right shoulder, I like when the right shoulder pulls down farther because it proves the bulls are playing with the bears, make them think they're still in control, and then it repulls back out. I love when it does that personally. I've been very clear about that in the past. I like when the bulls make the bears think they're in control and then they just pull it out from under them. Love it because it adds more short liquidity. It's actually doing exactly what it needs to do if you extend that out too into that positioning. So we'll see. We'll see, everybody. It's going to be a majestic ride, but we can get rid of all this bullshit now because it actually dumped down, filled out, went around, pulled down, reworked, did everything it needed to do. Now, at some point, could this just be this is the next area for a higher low, low, higher low? Could this be another higher low? Does it need to come to 006? These are all the questions we can't possibly answer in real time. We have to see how the market plays out. If we get a 50 basis point rate cut tomorrow, it would be interesting. Could all this be pushing up for a rug pull later? It could. But the fact that we're pushing up on the 2-day FOMC meeting, this isn't a sell the news event. This was a sell the news and buy the event because the event started today. Remember that. This is buying in preparation of the event now. So everybody who was selling the news completely flipped their thinking. Yeah, lost me there. Oh, well. What do you mean? Are you talking to me, Bright Future? Or are you talking to somebody else? Sorry if I missed that. Let me go back in the chat to see because I seen a donation earlier and I feel bad. And an update in somebody's membership. CJ2 Pilot, welcome into Tom's Army for over 25 months now with the badge, the XRP 589 Moon badge. It's the 2 to 3 year badge. At 3 years, you get a different one. So I'm blessed to have you in for well over 2 years now. Tom, what's the weather look like? Canceled a flight for Oakland County Airport this morning due to snow and wind. Arrival time was for 11 a.m. local time. It's not good if you're looking for a flight. We still got what looks like heavy snow outside, and we could get 3 to 5 inches if it pans out properly. We're starting to get towards a couple inches here. So for a flight, not looking too promising. Oh my goodness, algo just spiked up 4%. It was at 1.3% when I told you guys that it's not a bad spot to buy it for what's about to come, and it just spiked 4% while we were on the air. That's a good thing. I like when things do that when I talk. That was a healthy move since we started. I like that. Thank you, Algo. Thank you very much, Algo. I appreciate that. Makes us look good in this community. I'm still looking at. Man, this is a tough one because it overspiked so quick. But this is generally the reemergence of a market's. I can't tell anybody what to do, but that daily is so oversold. That's a nice look and possible reversal. Now, there's some to say that this might backtest it because of how volatilely it came out, and it's going to clear out some of these higher or the lower time frames, I should say. But these don't take much. All this would take would be a simple, if you go into the 2 hour, would be a simple, even if it jumped up to the 200 again, or if it just wants to roll back down and it just takes a simple pull down. That looks like an inverse pattern, though. I might be reading too much into this, but it's exactly what caused me with the other ones. Looks like a shoulder, strategic head, back into a strategic shoulder, bouncing out, and then it looks like it would have to set up for the consolidation just like this to break out. So, I mean, you could get the pull down from this range, have a pull back into here to make this advance movement, and then maybe this will be seen in the future as one big head, shoulder, shoulder. So I think this could just be the head, which is what makes it interesting, because then it would allow it the ability to sneakle down like this and then push up, and then you could have a rounding of the bottom. But you could also look at it as this isn't even the shoulder, that it started way back here, formed into a head, right? Comes up into so you can look at this different ways. But I can tell you this is trying to form a head across the board unilaterally, not just on this asset. And because it's in this micro inverse pattern, you have to say in the smaller time frames that it's working on a very micro inverse head and shoulders. But ultimately, from a macro view, this might be looked as a head formation only. You see how that works? Something that starts out as a micro inverse head and shoulders in itself might actually just be a macro inverse head. Then you start to look at the pattern and say, well, where's the inverse shoulder? Well, that would mean the price action's coming for rejection or sustainability up at 00875, which means what's the move over the top at minimum from here, or where you might have to buy in if it makes that next push. You might have to pay 6.3% more if it makes that move. So that's how I'm looking at this. And I'm not a genius, I promise, but I do know this better than most. You know, I have a good reputation for a reason. And part of the reputation is because I'm here every single day. Every single day. I've been doing this since March 24th of 2021. Believe it. I don't remember how much Linnea filled, so I need to go look. Because I didn't have as much of a portfolio with all the stuff I did with, well, you know what I did. So I need to see what it said. I forgot about Linnea. I was going through, I showed you guys the band. I showed you, I have to log back in, I'm sorry. And it looks like to me, it's hard for me to even look on these smaller ones and be like, hey, this isn't what it looks like. Because it looks like to me, you know, we're building into something much bigger here. It looks like an inverse pattern. I don't know. This could just be me. But if it breaks down, well, no. Then if it breaks down and you don't want to hold, let's say it comes down and breaks and you're in this, let's say you're in this position and you're like, well, Tom, how do I know if I could find a better positioning down at 646? If it breaks what looks like this inverse head and shoulders on this micro, so it doesn't allow it to be the inverse head on a macro formation, because I'm convinced that that's what this would be. This would be a micro inverse head and shoulders, but if it's got the maximum potential and it actually rephrases and gets back above here, and this is going to just be viewed as the inverse head. I can almost guarantee it. And this would be a shoulder and then out to another shoulder, and this would be a head. If it pans out. If it doesn't pan out and it invalidates, then we can certainly look at 646. It does have some of the setting and the markings to make this in to the inverse part of this. It really does. It's interesting when you look at this. Like, these are all fascinating because they're looking for some kind of catalyst. Is the rate cut? Is it going to be a 50 basis point rate cut? And is this the proper catalyst? Because in all reality, we've come down from 1.8 cents around November 12th. In less than 1 month, we're down from 1.8 cents down to 0.00821 in real time, approximately. What is it? 822. That's a significant pull down in 1 month. Like, in 1 month, if you were waiting to buy, it was all the way up here from this top wick. And this was on November 12th. Look at that. And right now it's down 45% from November 12th. So if we're waiting for a catalyst, I mean, it's dumped out leading into the event. But there's nothing that would say, like, if you haven't bought yet, would I buy at this exact moment? It's difficult to say yes, because the 30 minutes overbought, and we can expect at least probably a pullback to the 200-day, right? I mean, would that be unwise that it comes to 814? Maybe it comes back down here to validate this 20-day movement. So I would wait for the validation probably if you're not in yet, if I'm being honest, just because of how volatile it moved. But then again, from the macro perspective, you could just be waiting and it could go up that 6.3%. So it's not an apples to apples reasoning. It's just you have to do what your heart says is right in these scenarios. You really do. Remember how we started in algo was at 1% over? Well, it had a better positioning, obviously, because of where it was at. But it was already well pushing up in the stochastic. So, like, you're trying to front run this next move. See this inverse pattern? Left shoulder, head, right shoulder on this micro. This is a little more dominance, though, because they said we're not yielding and we're just going to pull out here. But it's still an inverse pattern. But this is actually, and we've talked about it before, like, I think this is all classic design. We've never, ended a bull market in crypto when everything was oversold the way it is and we're in extreme fear. So I think maybe this is building a unique, unique. I think it's building a unique inverse head and shoulders on the wider scale. Like maybe, just maybe, it's setting up like this to trap everybody out. And once this pulls through and it backtests here, we're off to the races. I'm not convinced that that's not what's happening right now, if I'm being honest. So I don't know what the hell they're doing in the long term, but I think in the short term, we've got this by the balls. And not just in crypto. I'm talking commodities. I'm talking precious metals. Hell, do you know an article that just came out today that's not in the mainstream? They talked about the best trade that's going to happen, and the fact that Ethereum is running gives Linea a lot more of a boostability in the short term. It likes to run with Ethereum, FYI. So, and I've stayed on the same track with Linea. I've never switched how many tokens I hold. Let me get to the picture. I have 313,000, so I'm still right around the same amount. I just keep using practically the same funds. I did steal some of the funds out of there because it could have been closer to 400,000 Linea. Took some of the funds and put it in XDC, I confess. But it's a good sign when Ethereum. So you basically heard everything. That's all. If you're wondering what I own and what I don't own, you've heard it. And there's reasonings for all of them. I've reasoned about Band, Linea, SHX. I've reasoned about Algo and not IOTA because it's not available for me and I won't use Uphold, nor will I endorse it. I've talked about why I don't have XLM now because I believe XDC can bring me better gains from a better price, even though right now it doesn't look like it because it's behind a little bit. But I think it's a better opportunity as far as even the placement. But, that's just hearsay out of my part. So there's nothing wrong with holding XLM. I put my eggs in the basket of XDC and then having them in XRP. Now, the question is, because of how out of whack the XLM XRP pairing is, would you sell your XRP and put it into XLM, seeing that it's at historic lows versus XRP? Not as historically low because it's not all-time lows, but from a historical sense, we're at an all-time low area. Can we at least agree on that? It doesn't visit this area very often, if ever. It hasn't before. Now, the one that I think is still a better bargain because of, well, let's face it, that one, at least it's towards the all-time low. It's the same thing here. We're near that area. There's no doubt about it. But we're at the bottom here as well, it looks like. And this initial pull down here is expected because it usually takes a day or two to do what it needs to do. But the monthly is so oversold, I'm not exactly sure what to think here of how fast it's going to happen. But eventually, versus XRP, it's going to appreciate. But I'm not worried about that appreciation on the XDC XRP pairing. I'm more interested in the appreciation of price and the actual pricing. It's got a long way to go to flip that pairing. There's no doubt about that. But this is doing like if I had to build this up for maximum potential, this is exactly what I would have done. We even spoke about the positioning yesterday about if it dumps here before the rate cut, game on. And it did too. It dumped into today. Even today, it dumped before this push up. It did exactly what we wanted it to do. We were dumping going into the 2-day FOMC meeting. You can't make that up. Now, are we now buying prematurely, thinking that now we're going to get a 50 base point rate cut based on some of the movements of gold, silver, and other things that we're seeing possibly? So we have to see if this plays out. Show me the monies. Trust me to trust you to trust me. Let's go. It's the way it works, friend. We have to have the trust all the way around because at the end of the day, we're putting in our hard-earned money. And it's not an easy task because at any moment, we know how it works in crypto and risk assets and these kind of things. But isn't it ironic that it dumped for the better part of a month leading into this 2-day meeting? All of crypto did. And now it's like it was back testing the further move. Like this could get spicy if it plays out. No closes this 4-hour FEG. It could rip to 28.8K, which is usually bullish for crypto as NASDAQ is tech heavy. Yep. Real talk. Well, it's not that I necessarily dumped XLM, but let's just say it goes into my line of reasoning. But I don't know. We'll see if it plays. It's something that I've been thinking about. And I think XRP and XLM are the exact same entity. They just separated it and they did a strategic separation with Jed McCaleb. And they needed to fund it in a different way and have more viability because they couldn't do it all with XRP because there was just too much. And there was too much interest in that token. So I think they did a strategic separation to where they were actually paying venture and they were actually able to expand the tech. So I'm looking at it that way. I think XDC is just criminally undervalued, especially, I mean, it's the front of the R3. I mean, some people don't understand that, and SDBI in Japan is so vital as well. But the R3 in itself, I know if you think the interoperability of XRP, what it can reach is something, you've got to look into the R3 quarter like that. Oh my God. I still can't believe in 2026 now it'll be in a couple of weeks that it's going to be at like 5 cents if it stays in this spot or under 5 at today's moment in December. That's some things sit there for so long until they're ready to move, and then you look back and you go, I can't believe I'm not doing the I can't believe. That scene in Jerry Maguire. Oh my God, that's a good, that's a good actual correlation. Actually, that's actually kind of funny. We'll look into H bar 1970 legend, the Buckeye from the South. Congratulations on going to the playoff again. Something Michigan couldn't do after defending the title because they suck. And we hired a terrible coach. It is what it is. I've been pissed since they hired Sharon Moore. If you're watching Sharon, yeah, you suck. Good coordinator, but not a good coach. Let's see. But yeah, 1970 legend, we'll get into there. I promise. We'll get into it. Thanks for being a very trusted mod, the $4.99 super chat, and also, being a very trusted mod and in Tom's Army for over 1 year. I really appreciate that. Joseph Euler, thanks for sending one gifted sub and also being in Tom's Army for 6+ months with the XP Predictor yourself. DH2025 received a gifted sub as in Tom's Army for his first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. That is my face superimposed on there. Congratulations, DH. I'm so honored to have you part of the Army. Hopefully some of you take it upon yourself to re-enter the Army after. Why doesn't it show me? I need to go into mine because I know there was one more donation, but it doesn't show me on the other tablet. That's why it's hard when I don't have my stuff up. It's still not showing me either. There was a donation up here and it deleted it for some reason. I could have swore it was in yellow. Did somebody send a $9.99 donation during this live? If you did, please let me know. Because I'd hate to not recognize the person who did. Who said yes, Tom? We weren't. Shit. Where was that at? I was reading that comment. Who said that? Yes, Tom, we were screaming at you. Putting money into different coins will make it harder to be an XRP millionaire. John, again, you guys are looking at it from the surface. All these funds that I'm spending on other tokens were made on XRP. Doesn't that by virtue make me an XRP future? I made 30-something thousand dollars in this bull, more than that, in this bull market. Do $5,000 into 38 cents and see what that turned into after the move up from last July. All that money has been spread around to other ventures in crypto. I still have my 10,000 plus initial from 34, but I talked about a strategic opportunity then to build into our portfolio and be able to expand from our holdings of all the stuff you see in commodities. Gold and silver started with my XRP trade in 21, the expansion. So to say you're basing me being an XRP future millionaire on just the tokens I hold, is asinine because it's built in. I told everybody how to do this. XRP's allowed me to build a treasury. It's allowed to build me a bunch of different cryptos all in one. So 5,000, and I did it in front of everybody when it was at 38 cents and bought more. And I said, I'm not afraid. This is the time to do it. That turns into 13,151 tokens for $5,000. You take that 13,000, we'll just say 13,000 tokens. You times that by an average of $3.30. Do the math. That cost me $5,000. I made $42,000. I only say 35 because I take out my initial investment. That $5,000 investment in 1 year, 13 months or 16 months ballooned to $43,000. So now all these cryptos, that XDC, those 400,000 XDC from that money, that 100,000 algo from that money, that 10,000 band from that money, that 10,000 epic from that money, that Linnea from that money. You get the picture? And we're not even talking about, anything from 21. We're just talking about from that one move. You see all my commodities? That started from XRP. Then it started with other trades that XRP allowed me to build through crypto. And I kept putting profits. And it seems like a lot of money now. But realize, some of this process, we had XDC at 2.9 cents and sold it when it was at 14.15. This is the rebuyback. So everybody says that you can't be an XRP future millionaire. What is that? What's the no? Why are you saying no? Are you knowing me? You've been in here long enough to know that's a fact what I'm doing. It's not untrue. And I might not have seen what you said before, but that's the truth. So to say XRP future millionaire is defined by just holding the tokens is an asinine. It's afforded me the ability to push into everything I could have ever dreamed with a small initial investment. Like that, and the 5,000 was a lot. But for it to balloon up that much, that's a lot. And to be able to push in, and I've talked about this for years. I use my profits from crypto, from XRP, and I expand into other tokens when the right time happens through cycles. Yes, but still needs to be a higher number now for the XRP. No, again, yeah, you're saying that it has to be just based on XRP. I've told you what I believe. And you can say yes or no, or it has to be higher. You only own XRP and you've only used your funds and never sold in and out, then that's fine. But my philosophy has always been the same way. I'm going to be an XRP future millionaire, but it's going to be through what XRP's helped me build from the roots. A plant never starts before seed. The fruit on a tree never starts before that first root takes place and the first plant and the first leaf. That's the foundation. Like I said, needing $20, you need 50 or whatever. You know what I mean. You're just going to stay to that, but that's fine. I'm not looking to, whatever. That's fine. I'm okay with that. This is my process. This is my process to become an XRP future millionaire. Whatever the hell road you take is on you. But this is my road that I decided to take. And I understand what you're saying. From an apples to apples debate on 10,000 plus tokens at just 10,000, you need $100 a token, but you're basing it on an apples to apples comparison. Unless you've been doing what we've been doing since 21, you can't build that argument. But I know what you're saying because you're absolutely correct. Based on my positioning, if I only had XRP and no other legs from that token, I would need $100 a token. 100%. And I do not disagree with you on that because you can't. Now, could I have went a different way? Could I have sold everything and rebought XRP every step of the way? Yes. But in my own mind, and like I said, I could be wrong. I think the legs I've built is going to transfer more than just making $1 million on XRP. I think if this works out, that because of the broad-based planning and just strategically putting it in different segments and different sectors, I think that this is going to turn into a multi-million-dollar event, not just, becoming a millionaire. I think it's going to be not millionaire. It's going to be XRP future multimillionaire, but it's going to have to be said in a different way. But it's going to be based on the fundamentals that not only XRP taught me as a trader, for pattern recognition because it's such an evolved market and such a small token on appearance because of price. There's so many different layers to it, and it's taught me so much. You have 109,000 XRP. Most of my buys were 50 cents. I believe XRP will eventually hit $40 to $50 in the next 5 years. Do you think so too? It's possible, but my what I think is going to happen, and I don't know if it goes higher. I do know we hit 549 to $6.39. I believe it's a metric that should be hit. So for you, that should be well over $500,000 to begin with. You know, a $50,000 investment, which would be a phenomenal investment. But I do think that XRP in its lifespan, even if it fails miserably to get towards a 3-digit mark, I think we're going to get that one push from 10 to 20 minimum. I do, because when you have a lot of these things happen, you want one last buy-in or push through. So I think for you, you're gonna make you'll end up making a few $1,000,000 if this does what I think it's gonna do minimum. As many tokens as you hold, I think it should give you the ability to have anywhere between $1 and $2 million on a $50,000 investment that you made. At minimum, you should be looking at $500,000. How long would it take for you to make $450,000 in profit? Now you got to pay taxes when you sell, but anyhow, you do that when you work too. So I think you're doing a good job. Just don't forget to reward yourself. Don't forget to pay yourself at some point. You've done it phenomenally so far, honestly. You've done a good job. 50-cent average, over 100,000 tokens. You can't ask for much more than that, especially where we're at. That's a clear 4x and then some ahead. You've got nothing to worry about as far as where you bought in. You can literally say that 50 grand is sitting around 200 and something thousand like that. Just looking at it is a great investment. Adam Bombi said, "You're the reason I bought so much too, by the way." Don't give me all the credit. I'm just a talking head. I try to give factual stuff so people don't get rolled. And I tried to explain how important it was to buy it near 50 cents or even if it was below. But anywhere at 50-cent area was such a good buy because you still had to double to get to $1. So now every time XRP moves $1, you 2x from your initial buy-in. People have a hard time realizing what that means. Oh, I was begging. You have no doubt about it. I never begged more in my life, aside from when I was begging my audience to sell XRP at $1.66 in 21 when it proved to me that it couldn't get back over that $1.72-ish area. It got rejected. And then I seen how it had this small hold and bounce from like 162 to 160. I said, holy shit. It's rejecting on the bottom side of that shoulder, you know, of where I would say this is bad. So I came on and I had this moment where I just sat here and I go, oh my God, it's over. And I sat here during a live on my phone because I didn't have the tablet yet. And I go, oh my God, we're done. And I sold everything live on air that I owned in crypto. And I lost half my audience in the next week. Oh, it was bad. It was bad. People were so pissed at me. Then they all came back a few months later for a good reason. Look, remember Linnea when we were talking at 821 just now? And I said, if you haven't bought that 4 hourly, you might have to buy 6 point something. It's gone a few percent now, like 3% or so. It's just the way everything is set up right now, to be honest with you. It's weird. Bitmine, Immersion, we talked about how they bought Ethereum and it would move harder than Ethereum if it went up. We talked about that last week too. They're the largest single holder of Ethereum. And then Ethereum today goes up 7.6 and it's up 9.99%. Whoever bought that in the stock market, not a bad investment. That's Tom Lee's company. And, you know, a couple months ago, it was up to $160. It had a huge spike. So 160 compared to 36 before this spike is a big difference. But so I don't know what's being said so far at the 2-day FOMC meeting, but something got the markets thinking there's going to be a 50 basis point rate cut maybe. At 11:49, I wish if you were thinking about buying Linnea, when I talked about it at 8:21 and the reasoning in the 4 hourly, why it could spike up right there. But I don't know. We don't know. Like, it looks like it's going to be on a push up, and I think this, like we were talking about, I think this is actually an inverse head. I know it's a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, but I think in time, if this plays out, this would be a shoulder. Here, I'll just draw it. I think right now it's using it as a left shoulder, head, right shoulder, so we could see this move telegraphed. But I think what in reality it's going to do is this is actually a shoulder. It came into a nice head. When it comes up here, it should come back down if it's a head and shoulders. I don't know if it'll come down farther. It could. But I think that's what it's actually building. Shoulder, head, shoulder, if this is bullish reversal. 4 hourly is overspot, but the daily gives you a lot of optimism because it's broke bullish here and stochastic. Now, we should probably put this back up. And this is the, why does it look like that? Here, we're going to put this up here. That looks like ass. What is going on? I love how it does that when you bring stuff back sometimes. But this is the moving average, or this is the, okay. So the top is the MACD. That's moving average convergence divergence. You've got the stochastic on the bottom. You got some volume down there, but when you're looking at this in the daily, you can see we're starting to flip back for Linea into more. It's starting to try to flip back green. It's neutral right now. Not going to get anything on the weekly, and that's the unfortunate part because we don't have enough data. 4 hourly's honestly starting to break pretty bullish right now in the amount that's coming in. So we could be starting a fresh spike here, and we've talked about the fact that at some point we're gonna have to revisit up here, whether in the short term or the long term. We have not come up here yet. We haven't come up to that 0.4309. So from where we're at now, because eventually we've already exhausted the wick exhaustion. So we went to the bottom side first. We never went to top exhaustion, which is good. I would rather come down here first. So from where we're at now, if we come back to top side exhaustion, that's a 407% move. So we'll see. Oh, no, 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 no. Quite the opposite. I think a 25 basis point rate cut would spook the market into a sell off. 50 basis points or more is what we need because the market always know. And I'm not saying in 2 weeks it's not going to dump out. I'm saying for an initial bull run, even if it's a fake out for a 2 week period, if we get 50 basis points for 2 weeks, we can probably sit back, cross our legs, and say this is going to be sweet because of where we bought in just now. Gold, silver, mining stocks are going to explode on 50 or more. Why do you think this is something's got to be going on? Something has to be happening deeper down for silver to be up another 4%. But we've talked about why the silver mining stocks are so important in this move because they are the most undervalued in comparison to miners. And B2 gold, you might be wondering why when the gold miners are up so much, B2 gold's only up. It's still up 100%. But why isn't it moving so fast like some of the others? Remember, B2 Gold found and ended up digging out of the ground the most silver they ever had in their history in 2025, up from 2024's record. So with that being known, they decided to wait most of the year to sell their gold and silver until they got higher pricing. So they didn't sell a lot at 3,500. They bet on the fact that it was going to be much higher price for gold and silver by 26, and they bet right. Q2 could be something crazy or Q1 for miners. And by the end of next year, I don't think we recognized the pricing. And that's how scary this could be. If we get up to $90 for silver, these miners, you could add a zero. So instead of Fortuna being at 9, at minimum, you're probably going to be around 20. Silver Corp would probably be around 25. It's got something building, just like Dolly Varden would be probably around 14, 15. You talk about Pan America, maybe this is where it would make the move to 80, 90, $100. It's a huge company. Hecla Mining, the USA single largest silver producer, maybe this is how it gets up to that 30, 40, $50 range. There's a lot of reasoning here. I mean, I was so excited buying in the bear markets for what's happening right now and all of this. And I've been so excited to reposition when we could in crypto to plan for what's happening because we were so oh man. No, Jerome Powell doesn't speak today, Frankie Fresh. FYI, everybody. It's a 2-day Fomc meeting. He actually speaks tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It has nothing to do. He doesn't speak today, just so everybody knows. Now, I think this was a good live, how it is. If I stay on for 2 hours, I'm not going to have the voice later to come back on, but I think today might be an important day to come back on. And how many of you appreciate the nighttime lives? I know, it's about 3 to 4 days a week I can do 2 lives, but how many appreciate the live at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or roughly 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.? Because honestly, it wasn't bad doing a 2 hour and 15-minute live yesterday, but I personally like being able to separate. I love doing the live during the morning hours when my son's at school, but I also, and obviously some other work can get in the way, so my son can get in the way for the nighttime lives to be 7 days a week, but I still think we can do 3 to 5 nighttime lives a week as well. So I like the live going into the daily close at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time as well. So I imagine I'll be back today. Please, if you have to rewatch this, if you appreciate what I do, consider joining Tom's Army. And stick around for a while. If you appreciate what I do, you can send a YouTube super chat as well. You can donate gifted subs, which I encourage to put the word out for other people. Some people asked me how to do this outside of YouTube, so I put up Venmo and PayPal. I have not got a donation on either one. I don't even think in 2026, but I did, or 25, but I did take it down for some time. And then KRAKEN's on the bottom. That's the tier 1 exchange. And that's what I trade on, so that I don't have to do the no KYC anymore. I'm not doing that shit. I'm not losing my stuff. So, you've been on yours, Tom. Keep them coming. I'm trying. I even was happy this morning that I was able to put out not just the short for all of us, which it has over 1,000 views. That's the crazy part. I have over 1,000 views. And I think this month right now, or last month, I think revenue wise, because I like to be honest, my estimated revenue last month, I think was 2,300. So not as much as some of you may think. Not even close to what but that's for another day. But the revenue last month was $2,300 is my estimated revenue from the month of November. So you put that into the hourly basis, I ain't making shit doing this. And then that's 1099, so I got to take taxes out of that too. 224 for the crypto, for the hearing and visually impaired. 224 people listen to that, but 1.1K. You see that? But when it shows you guys, when you're looking at my stuff, I'm almost at 1.2K. It shows 921 and 177. So it really does hurt the analytics the way it does that. I wish they would just be honest with everybody, the views, but they're not. It's nice to see we've had 854 new subscribers the last 28 days. That's not a lot either, but it's something. That's 7,000 a year, 8,000 a year. Yeah, 10,000 watch hours last 28 days, 120,000 plus views. Not bad. Not bad. Anyhow, that's basically the way it goes. That's as transparent as I can be about what I do. I like transparency. Transparency is good. Transparency is good. It allows everybody to be on the same page. And I think people respect it more when they see that you're not gouging them. So, Furby says, I recently transferred all my crypto to Coinbase and KRAKEN as well, except what's on the cold wallet, but I'll be moving that soon probably too. Yep, Furby, 100%. I don't think that's a bad idea. There's just too much unknown here with the no KYC, especially going into the new year. I think it's just safer. And then everything you send off of there, just make sure you look into your tier 1 exchange and see the differential. So if it shows that, you have $10,000 and then, in total, but there's only 5,000 left, your taxable income is going to be 5,000. So just remember that, because there's more put in than you've actually accounted for in trading and what's left on the exchange. So it's a good rule of thumb that you take that separation and you pay the taxes on it. So if you have 100,000 and it says 200,000 moved and there's only 100,000, you know what I'm talking about. It's a good idea to pay 100,000, on your gain. So just consider that, and just do your best because there's no framework right now. So all we can do is our best guessing, our best honest the best honest approach we can take. So, but yeah, pay attention to XDC because it's clearly going to be behind these moves. So it's been a blessing, everybody. Thank you all so much. An hour and 25 minutes. I can't thank you enough. You got me to be able to eat now. It's been 16 hours exactly since my last meal. So my intermittent fast is over. I can go make my protein shake.